Hello and welcome to another episode of Page Burners. We're working our way through the Malazan books by both authors Stephen Erickson and Ian Esselmont in publication order. We just finished up our read through of Midnight Tides. We've got 4 rereaders in the group that meets up every week to talk about these books, and so we're all going to do a full series spoiler discussion. And full series here comes with a bit of an asterisk. We've all read the 10 books of the Fallen, but we've read varying levels of Esselmont books amongst us. So we'll definitely spoil the entire Malazan Book of the Fallen. We may spoil parts of other series if necessary, depending on how much the rest of us don't mind the spoilers that we want to bring up for discussion. But we call out what we're spoiling if we're spoiling any of the Esselmont books, so that you know to tune ahead. With all that said, we have the usual group of friends, but a subset of the usual group of friends. Mirka, could you kick off the introductions, please?
Hey everyone, my name is Mirka, and I have read the books before. And I'm really excited to get to the second half of the main series. I know we have, other books on the schedule, but specifically, I think Bone Hunters was my favorite book the first time I read the series, so I'm very excited for that one. Midnight Tides, basically where it concludes, several plot lines are starting, right? So maybe today we can talk about those, which one is the one that we are most excited about, and which one we will be watching the most closely. Maybe that's different from one read to the next, right? I am very excited to follow Silch's Ruin, for example. I don't quite remember where that is going. I guess I do, but not the details of it. So, whereas, the first time reading the book, that ending was kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, he's out of the ground, and so what?
That
So
was
yeah,
your reaction the first time? I was like, oh, shit's real. One of the
yeah.
brothers just died and the other one just came out of the fucking Azat house.
I wanted to, I don't know, I guess maybe know a little bit more about it. It was kind of underwhelming in how little we got by the end of this book. And that's why I remember being like, oh yeah, okay, well, that's not the most important thing that happened.
I guess
what's your take, Carl, on Midnight Tides and where the series is going?
So I'm Carl, the second time through the series, although I've read the first 3 of the Book of the Fallen now 3 times, which actually kind of bounces off the first question I have for you, Mirka, although I will, of course, let Shannon go. But I'm just curious, you've read these books. Is this your 3rd time now?
It is my 3rd time. I'm not positive I finished the full series the second reread. So I think I stopped somewhere maybe book 8, book 9, and then it was a little bit too much. So yeah, I'm definitely going to remember less and less the further we go.
Because I was just thinking, you may have joined the most recently of the crew, but you might be the most grizzled vet when it comes to Malazan. So
it's been years. I've been obsessed. It's true.
I actually want to hear. I realize I have no idea how you were introduced to the series. I don't know if any of us have talked about that, so that might be a fun topic of discussion. Sort of randomly bringing that up after Midnight Tides. But the thing I will say that I'm most excited to talk about is the Crippled God and his place in the series. And because I know I kind of alluded to thoughts about why I think the epilogue works and the story as a whole. But before I go any further, hand it off to our last friend.
Shannon. And this is also my 2nd time through the series. And the only thing I wanted to, at some point, I'd like us to talk about, how did this reread of Midnight Tides hold up? Is it better, worse, the same? Whatever. But when we get to it. So, you were saying, Paul.
Just to start off with, and maybe starting with Mirka, because she was the one I was originally curious about. How were you introduced to the Malazan Books of Fallen?
It was in high school, and I became friends with this group of metalheads. Um, and they were all into fantasy, and I felt I was also into fantasy. I read Harry Potter, and I very much enjoyed it as a kid. And I'm like, yeah, I'm reading fantasy. And they're like, what are you reading? And then I like named my books, and they're like, you're not into fantasy. Here, Malazan Book of the Fallen, read that, and then come back and we can have a conversation. And yeah, that's how it started.
That's such a cool, fun story. Like, that's way
Yeah.
better than mine, which is just that, like, I saw people talking about it on YouTube and I was like, this seems really cool. I should read this. And then I read it.
Ditto.
Harsha,
Was
what's
it
your...
like the Malas tube part of YouTube, or did you encounter it in YouTube before that?
Actually, it's a really good question who introduced me to it. I don't remember distinctly. I definitely remember hearing a lot of, like, my guess would be like Daniel Green was my introduction to BookTube. And I mean, unfortunately, I haven't really watched his channel in like over a year. It's just kind of gone a different direction than... I don't watch a lot of BookTube anymore, for that matter.
Me neither. Yeah.
But I do think he probably was the first one that brought it up, and then Philip Chase and AP, AP Canavan, who's one of the beta readers for the series, and is on YouTube as a Critical Dragon. And I actually ended up hiring him to edit my book. I just loved hearing them talk, and they talked so highly of the series and had such interesting things to say. I think that helped motivate me. I don't know. It was a real quest over like many years too, because I stopped and started multiple times. I got through. I loved Gardens of the Moon. I really struggled with Dead House Gates. And then I read Memories of Heist and really liked it. And I should be clear that I was like reading these with like multiple months spread out between them. And then I just like stopped, and I like didn't read it for like a year maybe, or 9 months, and forgot so much that I was like, I'm just going to start at the beginning again. And so I did that. And on that time I got all the way through, and I finished it during the pandemic. It was one of my big pandemic accomplishments, along with the Wheel of Time, actually. What about you, Varsha? How were you introduced to Malazan?
I think so. I knew about the Wheel of Time. I don't remember how, and I read it straight through. I didn't read anything else. That was like a year and a half long project. And instead of getting burnt out by it, I was like, okay, what do I need? I need another series like this next. So I Googled it, and I think I found like a Reddit thread with a bunch of long series on there. Maybe Wars of Light and Shadow was on it too. And interestingly, I didn't Google specifically for fantasy because I didn't, for some reason, genres weren't just a thing in my head. I just like Googled long series, and it turns out that fantasies have long series anyway. So, so I heard about Malazan, and I just started reading it. Like, and that was nice because all I knew about it was the name of the series and that it had 10 books, so it would keep me occupied for a good long time. So I didn't go in with any apprehension about how hard it is to read and all the stuff that they tend to talk about that makes people afraid to pick it up for the first time and whatnot. That's it. I did find that a lot of Gardens of the Moon went over my head a little bit, but in a fun way. I used to read a lot of literary fiction before I like sort of divided up 50-50 between fantasy, sci-fi, and other things. But so it didn't feel much harder than, I think I had just come off of The Prophets. I forget the name of the author. Oh, that one was hard to read. So this one felt like a breeze compared to that. Where was I going with this? But it did change how I read series, though, because there is no way I could read 10 books straight through of the Malazan Book of the Fallen. So I started taking breaks and reading other things. So I went from reading a 14-book series straight through to, I don't know, not even reading trilogies straight through. Now I always take long breaks between books in a series. So
It's deadly once you get into that habit of like starting a series or starting a trilogy. And I have so many unfinished series.
yeah.
It's a real problem. Now
Oh,
that as you were talking, it occurred to me, I also think that I probably saw Like I used to be on r/fantasy on Reddit a lot.
Hmm.
And I still spend too much time on Reddit, but just less in that subreddit. And it's like a joke in the subreddit that like the response to every question of like asking for recommendations is Malazan Book of the Fallen.
Yeah.
And so I saw it so many times. I think that maybe actually more than any booktuber may have just, I think the challenge of it, because everyone talks about it like it's the hardest fantasy series to read. I was like, I have to try it.
Mm.
As someone who deeply loves epic fantasy and has since I was a kid. Like my beyond even like Harry Potter is certainly a part of it, but like Aragon was really huge for me. And, it's a big mythology nerd. And so like all of these things, like definitely like I had the taste for it.
Mm.
And so when you hear it's like the hardest and most epic of all fantasy stories, I was like, oh, challenge accepted. Like, you don't have
Yeah.
to tell me anymore. I'm there. And luckily it, lived up to the hype.
Oh,
I can strongly relate to like people recommending the Malazan Book of the Fallen. I have hooked up so many people, and I'm like,
nice.
just because I was so persistent and like, you have to read this. Like, you will not understand how good this is until you read it. Like, please read it. And and then people, I got people obsessed as well, and I have many friends who I was, it's so good to discuss this with someone. Um, Even if it's just like, and what about this scene? What about that scene? Oh my God. And Quick Ben is so cool. And, like, it's just so nice to have people who understand the obsession, which is, I was very excited to find this group as well. Have you guys persuaded someone to read Malazan?
I have successfully gotten my oldest friend to start Gardens of the Moon, and he has not finished it.
Oh no.
He likes it. He says he likes it, but he hasn't finished it. And nobody else could I get. I mean, they're just not. I just don't have a lot of like epic fantasy readers. A lot of my friends who like fantasy, they're not really in for the really longer. Like I think of like, some of my more readerish friends are, um, frankly, women who don't want to read epic fantasy, and like their main like dive into fantasy is romantasy, I would say, and it used to be urban fantasy. And I've tried to sell them, but it's just not their thing. And like an 800 to 1,000 page book to even longer than that is like the opposite of a selling point. For me, I'm like especially with a long series, like I don't know why this is too, because I hate like standalones that are 1,000 pages long. But a series, I'm like, yes, like that's it. I love it. I'm here for that. But not really anyone else in my life.
Shannon, was your intro to Malazan also through the same YouTubers, or did you encounter someone earlier than them who was talking about it?
I mean, it's been a while, but I think, if anything, I want to say maybe Alan from the Library of Alexandria. I remember him talking about it. And then, not long after, AP and Chase are kind of who I found. I listened to the videos, and then they had a lot of Malazan discussion stuff. And so that was kind of, that was probably when and that's by then I was getting into it.
Yeah. I think I started reading the series and they were sort of almost parallel with where I was at. And then they got way ahead because I took long breaks between books. I think I took like 8 months to read Toll the Hounds. Just read it. And then I took like 5 months off before I picked up Dust of Dreams. But
Unforgivable.
but what's interesting is how much I remember. That was the reason I used to sort of paranoid read series back to back, so because I'll forget if I don't pick it up immediately. But even with the long breaks I took between the Malazan books, I remembered enough to appreciate the main plot points. That's it. I want to talk about how I didn't appreciate the mainest plot point the first time around this today, like during the spoiler chat. But
Well, that might actually be a really good transition to, I mean, I don't know what point you wanted to make, Varsha, but just that why I think the epilogue of Midnight Tides is really important for the series as a whole, which is very simply that, Erikson, if you listen to him or read about him talking about the series, like he is really big, as many very successful fantasy authors are big about wanting to like play with the tropes of the genre and subvert, your typical expectations. And, that goes from everything to like little kind of jokes like Chalice in Gardens of the Moon, the quote unquote love interest of Crocus, right? Literally being named Chalice, like an object for him to win. To, the Dark Lord, Animander Rake, being like a good guy, to, the Crippled God, who I think is very much sort of introduced and treated as like this paramount threat, particularly built up in these three books. These three meaning Memories of Ice through Midnight Tides. And he, after his mystique is taken away from him, particularly in this book, he's kind of treated as a really pitiful and pathetic creature. I think we had mentioned before the parallels that I wondered about with like Gollum, for example. And I feel that the ending of Midnight Tides, as strange and comedic, and we went back and forth about whether or not it's out of character for Mael to just show up and just like whoop his ass, or at least threaten to. But I think it serves a purpose of actually going even before Mael's arrival, that in the epilogue of this book, the guy who's been treated like the big villain of the series, like the Voldemort figure, or even Voldemort's actually not as good a comparison as like Sauron. Like he's really treated like Sauron, like the mastermind, this like almost like force of nature behind everything, gets pranked. Like he's literally the butt of a joke. And that is the opposite of what you'd want to do if you wanted your big bad guy to be this like super scary threat. You're not going to make him a joke. And you're not going to have another god show up at the end and be like, and the big heroic ending is like, yeah, I'm going to whoop his ass. And then that bad guy's going to come back and be the big bad for the rest of the series. And so to me, this as the turning point in the series, quite literally the halfway point, what is the metaphor that I have heard Erickson use? But it's the point around which the whole story turns. It completely takes away the mystique of the Crippled God and just makes him kind of sad and pitiful. And that is crucial to where the story goes. In many ways, it is like kind of the crucial thing, because it's what this whole story is about. It's the book of the fallen, right? The fallen one, the Crippled God. And so, especially on a reread, I find it very meaningful and smartly done. But I know we had some controversy about that, so I don't know if I swayed anyone, or if you still feel like
I was
it
the one
sucks.
who didn't like that that last section or the last sentence of this book. It's just that I think he was made pitiful enough by how he was presented in these books. Like kind of, he's immobile. He's like he's coughing. He's clearly sick and struggling and suffering. But at the same time, he's really mean and really like is causing a lot of issues in Leatheras. But yeah, I think that, as you mentioned, Carl, it's the lack of, I guess, compassion from Mael that was a little bit shocking to me. Okay, that, and then the fact that this exact scene already like happened with Quick Ben previously, where he also ended the chapter with some like, some statement that kind of, it was something like, I'm going to beat Crippled God's ass or something. I don't know exactly what he said, but
Yeah.
it's just the repetitiveness of that and the pathos of that statement. It felt a little annoying. That's all. But I definitely agree with you that, like Erickson is breaking those tropes and like trying to give us an anti-hero who is suffering and deserves pity, which is a very rare scenario, right?
Could you remind me, was Mail on the side that wanted to free him in the end, or that wanted to keep him trapped?
In a very tertiary way, he is on this. I actually don't know if he knows their plan. Isn't it implied that Tehol knows the plan?
I don't remember. But he doesn't Tavor release an ocean of thoughts, and like Mail helps with that when they need
You're
water.
right.
Yeah.
That is a thing.
Yeah, I think that would mean that he's with them on it.
Mm.
That is the implication there, I think. If we're remembering that right. It's not an ocean though, right? Because it's fresh water. It's drinking
Oh yeah.
it. But it is given to them by mail, isn't it?
I think so. It's some trinket that he gives her, or some invocation that she has to do to bring it about. But pretty sure he's involved. Yeah, I couldn't remember where Mail was at the end of it, and it seemed unlikely, given how much we like his character now, that he was on the opposite side. So for that reason, that statement felt a bit incongruent to me, but I can still buy that because he's just like, it's sort of in the nature of, okay, you have no patience. I'm working to help free you, and meanwhile you're just wreaking all this havoc. But
I don't think he is actively at this point working to
yeah,
free the Crippled
no.
God. If anything, I think the argument maybe to be made is that his interaction with the Crippled God here is what leads him to be sympathetic to the idea of freeing the Crippled God.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a possibility.
I mean, we don't know. We never find out unless I'm misremembering what happens.
I think my thing is slightly related to the Crippled God as well. The big plot point that I don't think I really fully understood. There's two parts to it. One is, I think I'm now realizing just how much of a role the Crippled God plays in the events of all the books. I'm not so sure about Gardens of the Moon, but everything after that, he's sort of the driver of the big thing that happens, right? In what was it in Dead House Gates? I forget, if maybe Dead House Gates was also its own thing. But Memories of Ice, the Crippled God is behind that cannibalistic cult. What were they called? Panion. A Panion seer, and then
Didn't the Crippled God help start the rebellion, Shaikh's rebellion? Didn't he play a role in that?
So we learned that in the fourth book, which I think maybe also has echoes back to the second book. The Path of Hands was all Kellenvet and
Yes, that's all
Cotillion, right? Which I guess indirectly is a little bit the sort of opposite side, but not quite, because Kellenvet and Cotillion are working to free him eventually. And then there's this book, which it's like much more clear and blatant how much of a role he plays. I forget what happens in the Bone Hunters, but he's sort of really central in a way that I don't think I fully connected or appreciated my first time around, in how he drives the events of all the books. And the second thing is, I think just this whole conclusion around some people want to keep him chained and use his body parts to their advantage. Forkrul assailed Prime amongst them, but I think there's a lot of gods involved who also want to use him to their advantage. And I think the Kellenved and Cotillion plotting to free them all, that bit, I think I understood, but I'm trying to find the connecting dots through this second read. I'm not finding them yet. Maybe there aren't any yet properly until the Bone Hunters, perhaps. But that's something I'm looking out for.
Connecting dots for their plan to free the Crippled God?
Yeah.
I thought there were already some dots in previous books, but I don't have a specific example. But this time around, when as we were reading the maybe it was Memories of Ice. I thought there was something mentioned where I was like, oh, that's the Crippled God plan. But yeah, I wish I remembered.
Yeah, it's possible that I missed some again. But
Well, I
yeah.
think there are, in a roundabout way, kind of set up for it. Just in like, it's tough because Callanved and Cotillion do so much, and their plans are so, like Callanved's in particular, are so like kind of outlandish that it's kind of hard to track exactly how they all relate. But Tavor, like, I believe we're given reason to think that she has been working with Cotillion this entire time. She's a Talon. So in that way, House of Chains is hugely about their plan. And then Memories of Ice, I, can almost see as like them first really having to shut down the Crippled God's extreme machinations. And I forget, how early did they plan? Do we know, like, the origin point of their plan? Was it the second chaining? Was it Memories of Ice? Did they not really like focus on freeing the Crippled God until after he almost, wiped out the continent? That doesn't feel right. I feel like they were already planning it by that point. But in Gardens, they definitely weren't, I feel like.
I think in some of the epigraph it was mentioned that Cotillion was present at the chaining, right?
They both were, yeah.
Oh, both of them. Okay.
How long ago was the second chaining? Was it really recent? Do they have to redo this every 50 years?
No. It's like, I think there were only 2 chainings. I don't know, maybe there are more than 2.
Cotillion only ascended, Cotillion and Shadowturn only became gods fairly recently.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm not sure if that makes sense to me, that they would be present at the chaining.
So even assuming they went there immediately after becoming gods, it's only been 50 years. And I think what they're trying to prevent now is a third chaining, right?
The chaining definitely happened before they became gods. And I'm fairly, but not entirely confident that it was gamed out. I think it was a part of their gaming, and that may have been the origin point for the whole idea of freeing the Crippled God. I could be wrong about that. I am confident, though, that the chaining is before they become gods. I want to say
they don't be present then. Like,
I think because they were literally like part of the events, like they led up to it.
Okay, yeah.
As Emperor and the Robe. I do also think they didn't create the plan until after they became gods. I mean, maybe there were some ideas percolating, but their transformation was so dramatic and like reshaped their personas so much that I don't know. I mean, it might have even been their ascension that was what gave them the perspective to free the Crippled God, right? I mean, that would have reframed their entire point of view, not just of the world, but of the Crippled God, now that they are divine and they can more distinctly imagine what it's like to be ripped from your realm and torn away from your worshippers and your whole world and made to be, in horrible pain constantly in an alien world where nobody shows you any kindness.
Yeah, hints that the plan is in motion in the next books. I guess, by the end of House of Chains, I'm guessing it's already kind of in their minds, or like maybe in motion even.
It's gotta be.
But hopefully we'll get some information on that.
Do the novels of the Malazan Empire have a sort of similar through line?
Oh, regarding the Crippled God?
Not necessarily Crippled God, just anything. I mean, Shannon, you're the one who's read them.
You mean the the path to
I mean, is
ascendancy?
there kind of. Yes.
Because okay, no,
Yeah,
the
I mean,
series
at
was
least
more
like
past the ascendancy.
like
But
3 or 4 books kind of like have, yes, without getting into spoilers. Yeah.
okay, cool. Well, that explains that. Or I was just curious about that.
I mean, but the biggest theme of it is just that each book takes place on a different continent. It's the novels of the Malazan Empire. So it's this area, this area, this area, this area, this area. And then there's a couple characters that pop up for a couple books and a couple books. Yeah. But it's not the same. It's different.
Shall we move on to the next topic? I think Mirkas, I forget what yours was.
Yeah, so I guess which of the new storylines are we excited about? That started at the end of Midnight Tides and are going to continue. So, we had mentions of, well, For Cruel Assail made an appearance. There was Udinas's son, the daughter of Skabandari is still imprisoned underneath the Azad house. Fear and Serempedak and that crew are going on a quest. So yeah, I don't know. Jan Tovis was mentioned as well. Sandalat, Drew Korlat. All these characters are coming back in the following books, right?
I think basically everything you named, I'm excited for because so many of them went right past me first time I read them. I didn't care because they were so disconnected from the first half of the series. I really liked the For Cruel Sale, but I did not even begin to guess how important they would become. I
Totally.
certainly
Yeah.
didn't catch just how much was seeded here. They really, I mean, and in earlier books. The scene in House of Chains is very memorable when Karsa and his buddies stumble across the one. But generally, yeah, I'm interested in tracking that. Sandalath, especially after reading Carcanus, and Serempedak story. I don't remember where that goes at all, other than she has a baby with Troll. What was the other one?
And she's becoming a mage, right? Like she has.
Yeah.
I guess that already started in this book, but then that really becomes important for the plot.
Oh,
later on.
Yantovis and the what are they called?
Yeah. Shake.
Yeah, I didn't care about it at all until the last 2 books on my first read, and so now I'm invested. I'm locked in. Knowing where it goes, I'm there. And it's even more interesting also if you've read Carcanus.
That's true.
Okay. I got like 3 chapters into that book and then I haven't had time to go back. Okay, we'll see. Yeah, I think I'm really excited for Jan Torres thread too, because of how it ends. That was one of the 3 or 4 moments in, I forget where it concludes, Dust of Dreams or Crippled God, that made me like bawl my eyes out. So I think it'll be nice to start over and see how we get there.
What about you, Shannon?
I was forward with it. Yantovis, of course, the shape. Because again, yeah, same as you. Like until the last couple books, like I didn't realize how important they were. I don't know, because I'll be honest, Reaper Scale is not one of my favorite books. So it's like, I'm kind of interested to revisit where Siltrus Ruin and all them are going. But I kind of remember that story being drugged down by the emo to standing dude that I really, really didn't like. I
Amanda?
don't know. Not Namander, the guy that was like, thought he was like the moral sort of Animander or something.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
he
yeah, yeah,
was
yeah. The asshole.
the
Yeah,
real
yeah.
ass clown guy.
Clip, was that his name? Or
Flip. That's his name.
Oh, he
I-
sucked.
Flip.
I remember that he kept playing with a keychain of some sort.
Oh, God.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why I'm doing
so
this with
annoying.
my
Oh,
fingers.
no.
So, yeah, I do remember, like, so, I don't know.
That's-
I am very interested to go back to Reaper's Gale because I didn't like it the first time, mostly because it's just the ending. But like now know what I'm getting into. Maybe I'll like it better. But yeah, so these characters picking, I don't know. Like there's just, yeah, like the, Jan Tovis I love and all that stuff. But that, what's, yeah, I don't know. Like there's just not, I don't know.
I'm with you on being excited for Reaper's Gale. It was also definitely not my favorite of the books the first time through, but with how strongly I liked House of Chains, which was also one of my least favorites, I'm really hoping I have a similar sort of reaction where it's like, oh, suddenly I'm reading it with new eyes.
Yeah.
I'm a little
That's what I
nervous
hope too.
about Toll the Hounds for like similar reasons, but in reverse, because that was my favorite and I adored it. And I'm like, oh God, am I going to have like
I
overhyped?
really like Toll the Hounds. I really hope I still like it. Yeah.
Is Reaper's Gale the one in which Tehol becomes emperor or king or whatever?
Yep.
King Tehol the only. Yeah, king.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it takes a while to get there.
Yeah.
It's the one with also the guy who's like really interesting and mysterious and starts leading the tribes in rebellion, and then they get wiped out. The biggest
Mask,
anti-climax.
red mask. Yeah.
Yeah.
That pissed me off on the first time through. I respect
Oh,
it,
yeah.
and I think I might enjoy it this time, knowing where it goes. Really pissed me off. I was like, that went absolutely nowhere. Nothing. They just get wiped
Yeah.
out.
I think it
No,
has the potential
I
to
was
be
actively
exactly the
angry about
same.
that.
So Kachain Chamal killed him, right? In the end,
Yeah.
the people who wanted him to be their
Yeah.
mortal
Which, I
sword or
mean,
whatever. Yeah.
looking back now, I realize what the point of it was. The point was to introduce the idea of a mortal sword that could change them all and all that. But still, at the time, it was terrible. Just because it just, all they do is wipe him out, and they killed what's his name, Tok the Younger.
Tok the Younger.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Talk about one of the most painful,
Yeah.
worst
It's
deaths.
just they just wipe him out, kill Tok the Younger, and then like that. Yeah.
He's
That's
one of my
it. Yeah.
favorite characters, and I was like, surely his story is going to go somewhere really interesting. Surely it's going to be really cool, and it's not.
That kid
Biggest
never catches
disappointment.
a break.
No, his life just sucked.
Every time he comes back, worse things happen to him than the last time. You wouldn't think that's possible. But
It's
Put in the
actually
body of a
crazy.
cannibal. How could it get worse?
Isn't it like some crazy crap like Tool comes across him like after he's dead?
Yeah. Like immediately after he dies. Yeah.
and then
Steven
they
Erikson.
have an argument or something, but they end up looking out for each other, which is nice. But it's also so sad. I did not want that friendship to end that way, but
No. I just wanted him to be, I don't know, to do something, to be significant. I felt like he had such interesting setup with such a likable, interesting character. And his story doesn't really go anywhere.
Yeah.
Memories of
Well,
Ice.
especially because they bring him back. He's got this eye that's shared with the beast god and all this stuff. And
Exactly.
just like there seems like there's so much going on there.
Nothing happens. Nothing comes of it. I mean, unless I'm like, completely misremembering. Maybe Reaper's Gale, maybe that'll be one of the surprises is, actually there's really subtle, interesting
More interesting stuff there.
through line here. But I just remember being wildly disappointed because I love Talk. I was so excited when he came back. What about you, Mirka? What are you most excited about?
So yeah, all of these are, good stories, but I think I'm most excited to have Bone Hunters back. And then like kind of those two stories becoming one eventually. But yeah, I just really like the Malazan army, and so I already mentioned that the Bone Hunters book is one of my favorites, and I can't wait for that final scene in the Malaz city, which, oh my god, that's like one of the best endings to any book ever.
Agree.
And yeah, and there's other things in that book. There's Igatan battle, right, which is super intense. So yeah, I as much as I like this continent and these stories, and I think I said it before that on the reread, Midnight Tides is a very, very satisfying book, and it's mind blowing how many hints and how many little things that connect are there. But still, I'm excited for the return of the Malazan army. They're just very special, and yeah, so wonderfully written. The humor is there still. Like, we're not kind of leaving Bug and Tehal for not having fun anymore. I think it's going to be still there, but just a different kind a little bit. And then yeah, their journey is great. So yeah, Bone Hunters is what I'm excited about.
Yes, I agree. It did strike me while you're talking. One thing I am a little excited to see is on the reread of this. I liked Rulad and Udnas a lot more than
So,
and I actually am excited to kind of like see go back over like Udnas's like future with the whole mini warren that he ends up in with his son and all that stuff. Because there was a lot more of that in this book than I remembered. So yeah, I'm kind of like a little excited to see Udnas.
I always am here for my boy Udanas. I'm actually weirdly excited for Featherwitch. I know I'm the Featherwitch defender of the group. I can't wait to see where her story goes.
If by the end of Reaper's Gate you make me like her, Carl, I have to punish you some way.
That's fair.
I don't let you hit him. Because
Deal.
I don't like her either. I hate her.
well,
I think
she had
I
some
think I liked
really.
her less this time through, actually.
I was gonna
Because I
say,
kept.
like, her readings were really, I guess, helpful this time. Like,
Mm.
kind of having read the books already, and like kind of thinking about what she has been saying in those readings of the tiles. That was I like that. I like a character that kind of gives you a little bit of foreshadowing and some information, but very much obscured. Kind of like when Fiddler is reading the Deck of Dragons. So I guess in that sense, she was okay for me.
In the first book, I expected to eventually like her my first time through, but she just kept getting worse, and then she goes full on crazy in Reaper's Gate. So yeah, I don't know. I'll be very disappointed if you make me like her, Carl, and that's the only way I like her. If you
Well,
like
I was about to
support her
say,
so severely.
is my memory of it is that actually she just gets worse. And that, like, I think I probably liked her a little less than I did the first time through. Like, I really kind of felt for her the first time through. And then she just does just go off the deep end and is really sort of horrible, if I remember right, in Reaper's Gale. So, well, yeah, we'll see. I don't really remember the details of her storyline. I just remember how it made me feel. And how it made me feel was, you're a bad person.
Yeah.
It's just completely unhinged in Reaper's Gate. I don't remember the specifics of what she does, but like she has a beef with the errant, and
Well, that's valid.
yeah, they both deserve each other as far as I'm concerned. But
I mean, that's the thing. She's got a beef with the air, and I still don't support her. Like, that's pretty bad. Like, because he's worse, objectively worse, but
I will say, God, I hated the Aaron on my first read. he's a great bad guy. Like I was thinking about how, we traded the gods of chance Opon for the errant, really, to kind of fill that weird X Factor role in the back half of the series, and the series is better for it. He's a better character than they were. Like, he's really interesting. And him being an elder god does add a certain je ne sais quoi. Your thoughts on the errant? I got no reaction whatsoever. Some nodding from Varsha, but that's it.
I just remembered my thought the other day that I thought about who would play him in a movie. And I don't know if you guys like to do this, because like some people don't like to associate actors with book characters.
Throw it out. Tell us.
So what's his name?
Oh my god.
Sam Claflin.
I have no idea.
Claflin.
Sam.
Google this guy and tell me that he's not the errant.
Sam Plotkin, you said?
What's his name?
I'll paste it in the chat because I'm not sure if I can pronounce it right.
Unfortunately, the first thing I saw was Sam Altman, and I was like, God, maybe he would be a good as the errant. I really just hate his guts.
I mean, isn't he playing that role right now?
That's right. You're right. It kind of is. They're very eerily similar. Oh, yeah, I like this actor. Oh, yeah, I could see that. That feels right. He's meant to be attractive, and he could definitely be slimy. I see that. Something very kind of upper crust about him. Yeah, I support that.
Do you have anyone who you would want to play some Malazan character?
Oh, that's a really good question. Anyone have someone on the top of their minds?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
I feel like I don't have someone like immediately.
But you want is Anamander Rake? That's what I'd like to know.
Which actor are we putting in actual blackface? No, even worse. We're just going to cast a black actor and put them in blackface.
I guess that's the only solution, maybe.
I don't know. You really need someone who's just got that like quiet aura, who's noble and kind of emo and really cool.
Because it's got to be able to like monologue like all the internal stuff in the later books. I don't know. See, I kind of envision Malazan being animated, so I'm like, I'm thinking of voice actors.
I'm with you. Yeah. I'm with you. I think it would be better animated. Well, it's just more like feasible animated, just because of the scale of it. But I mean, I think you could get like, if you get like a really good classically trained actor, who has background in like Shakespeare and theater, like I think that's the type of person you really need. Actually, someone who just comes to mind now, Lee Pace, I think would be a really good Anamander Rake. You put that man in blackface, no one would complain.
Oh yeah, I like that.
If you've seen him as like, I mean, he was in the Hobbit movies, and so
yeah, isn't that a little bit too similar? Maybe.
It is similar enough, and that's probably why I'm thinking of it. But also, like, I don't know. I mean, if you watch Foundation, like, he's one of the best parts in that. He's
the best part of Foundation. That's what I always think of with him.
He just has presence. He's really tall. He has that voice.
And like, see, and Foundation makes me think he could be the errant.
Yeah, he could also be the errant.
Like running around without a shirt on and just kind of being egotistical, like that's my face.
You would love to hate him.
Yeah.
People would
He's
be
a Foundation dude. I did not remember that. Yeah, he could work.
I guess back to Carl's question of the errand. What was the question? What did we? Oh, where does his storyline go? No.
To be honest, I don't remember.
It was how cool is the errand?
Oh yeah.
Explain in your own words.
Was that was not what I said. I may have a bad memory, but I don't think I said that.
I'm
Maybe a little bit.
summarizing, Carl.
Oh, he's a great character. Oh, I did say that. Yeah, I did say. And do you agree or not? I mean, I think he's way better than the Chance twins. So I will stand by that.
No, he's
What's
more
more
interesting. He's
involved?
deeper than them.
Mhm.
I mean, with them, it's just you've got the push and the pull, and that's it.
They're his children, right? Or something. Yeah.
Do we find that out in the series, or is that something that Erickson confirmed out of the series?
They mentioned in the series.
Okay, they did.
I forget where, but he does mention them.
In the I don't know. He gets together with two other gods, right? Kilmandaros, is that her name?
And Siltus. Oh, not Siltus Rune. What's his name? His
the
brother.
third person. Yeah.
Oh crap!
Starts with an S.
He also sucks. His brother's also.
Yeah, the other guy that sucks. Yeah.
I don't remember.
What is his name?
Too many names, too many characters. There are characters like I deeply love from that series whose names I can never remember. Like some of the Marines in the back half, cannot remember their names, but I loved them. Everyone quietly looking up character names.
Crippled God.
Yes. Yes. Who's this guy? What I forget what he does. Azatanai, the youngest.
Is he part of that
what?
crew with Kilmandaros and the Errant? But they like
Yeah.
that they're freeing the dragon, the Otataro dragon.
God, is that what they do?
Yeah.
They're the ones who free Korabas, however we're saying her name. It's a her, right?
I think so.
Yes.
That story was crazy. That shit had my jaw on the floor. Where that went, I totally lived up to the build-up. Was not a talk the younger situation.
Yeah, no, that was really good.
Storm of
that was something I
Dragon.
really enjoyed about the earlier books when we actually saw the dragon crucified and stuff. I was like, oh, I know where this is going.
Yeah. One of the coolest like concepts, like just bits of having so many fantasy stories have dragons, rightfully. Not very many do anything really unique or interesting or cool, mess with the lore. This is like Erickson's way of really messing with the dragon lore that is so freaking cool. I also like the detail, although I don't know if it's an original thing to the Malazan universe. And I got to give credit to Esselmon as well. Who knows which of them created it, but that all the like dragon shifters, the Soul Taken, had to like drink the blood of Tyam. I mean, unclear if it's a metaphor, but it doesn't seem like it. And Carcanis doesn't make it seem like it.
I also thought it was a metaphor originally, and I don't think it is. I think they actually had to drink it.
Yeah, I think literally they drank the blood.
So apparently Opon are Sekulat's children, however saying that name. And is the errant the same as Erastus?
Yes.
Okay. So he seems to also have to do with randomness, right? Sekulat.
Is that right? He also is.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what he actually is over. He seems like,
right? I think
I thought he was the god of being whiny and blaming his brother for stuff.
The god of just being the worst.
Yeah. Oh, the errant didn't.
Lord of chance and mischance.
So what is the errant then? He seems to be like somewhere in between.
He's like
a lot
literally
of
the god of
chance and
chance,
mischance.
isn't he? Like, isn't that what they describe him as? The god of chance in this book?
But
Midnight
isn't
Tide?
that the same as errant then? Isn't
Oh,
errant
That's what I'm
Aaron,
saying.
Oh, but that's not the same person. They're
No.
two different
like
gods.
Sekulat is his title is Knuckles.
The knuckles, right? That's one of the holds, isn't it?
It's a tile. It's one of the
Tiles.
one
Okay.
of the fulcra,
Mhm.
one of the unassigned.
Kilmandarus.
oh yeah,
Maybe they're
That's
different
what
gods for the same thing. Like there are different gods of war.
True. That's a good comparison.
Yeah, and like as much as you try to twist the idea that chance and luck are two different things, they're really like the same thing. So, the Opon twins and Erastus are like, they're covering a lot of the same territory there.
Yeah.
but he's also master of the holds though, which kind of makes him sound like he's similar to Perrin, whatever Perrin's role is. Like he kind of is a little bit.
Isn't
So
that
there's
like
he has an additional thing.
parallel is explicitly drawn, isn't it? That like they end up being sort of competing forces in the latter books.
I think so.
I want to say in like the last two that comes up. I could be wrong though.
But yeah,
Good stuff. When Perrin comes back, oh, I can't wait. What do we? So I mean, we already kind of talked about in our spoiler-free or not series spoiler discussion where this kind of ranks for us. But I don't know. What are your very spoilery thoughts of the book? What really stood out to you beyond obviously the things we've discussed?
I first time through, I liked this book, but didn't like love it. It was kind of like I don't know. Yeah, it was good. Which I felt like a lot of people seemed to love it. So I was like, maybe second time through though, I really liked it more. I got more out of it. I did enjoy Rulon more. Like I said, Moodnos, that whole side of the story. I still enjoyed Lethris. Like that was kind of what I enjoyed first time. And then like I said, I don't know. I feel like my ultimate like what I think of this book is going to depend on what I think of Reaper's Gale when I re-go through that. Like since it sets up a lot of that.
Interesting. My thing was how differently it read on reread rather than like as compared to the other books we reread so far. The others felt a lot easier this time around. This one almost felt like my first time, interestingly, which was strange. Like I remember a lot, but there was still some things that were like I'm not entirely sure what's going on. That there was a lot less of in the first four books. And I think the other thing that was interesting to me was in all the other books, I felt like the main event that I was looking forward to, it happened a lot sooner than I thought it was going to. But in this one, it happened all the way at the end, like the confrontation between Rulad and Priest Benedict. I thought that was maybe at the 3/4 mark or something, but it was literally the last chapter. So yeah, my timelines in this book are completely off.
I would agree with that. I also was expecting that to happen way earlier and then have some like follow up or something. I forgot that was where the book cut off and then the rest was in another book. I guess that maybe that's because we as a reader remember the story as a whole, right? Like not necessarily like where exactly what happened. Yeah, that sounds right.
Interesting.
In terms of spoilers, I'm going to go back to the Feather Witch and the tile readings. There is a ton of spoilers there, which the first time reader doesn't know about. But knowing the rest of the series, basically the fact that Hood is Jagut is mentioned, the fact that he's going to have a fight is mentioned, the fact that I think Draconis is going to escape Dragnipur is mentioned in those readings, because like they mentioned
Really?
the Hold of Eyes, they mentioned the Hold of Dragons, right? So these characters, they are either well, I guess Hood is Jagat, and then everybody else, like the big players, are all draconic, and they hold positions in these do they call it Hold of Dragons? Yeah, I think so, right? So all of these things that are kind of hinted at in Featherwitch's visions, or the reading of the towels, which is pretty cool.
I'd missed a lot of that. I think I caught the hints to Hood, but not the rest of that. Oh, one that they do allude to, especially with the sort of pseudo confirmation we get at the end that the empty throne is the Shadow Throne, and so the empty warren is Elder Shadow, or some part of it at least. The Walker, that's got to be Edgewalker.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And then there's also
I love
Wander.
Edgewalker. He's great.
Yeah. Who's Wanderer, do we think? Any ideas?
Isn't that... Wait, isn't that Dassam? Or am I crazy?
Dasim Ultor?
Yeah.
Oh. Interesting.
Okay. Well, what was the? Remind me, Carl. What was the? Is it Wanderer of Shadow? Is that like specifically what it says, or?
No, there's like Wanderer and Walker.
Okay.
There is like two different ones there. I remember being like, who are
just
like,
Wanderer would really fit Dasim Altar, actually.
Yeah. And they like specifically, I remember seeing Walker and being like, oh, that has to be Edgewalker. And he like, I forget if it was just mentioned in passing or if they like actually give him some like additional verbiage or something to describe him. That just sounded, it's like it's got to be Edgewalker. I mean, associated with Shadow. That was the only question for me, was when we weren't sure if it was Shadow or not, and it definitely seems to be.
That's true.
That would be
Similarly,
fun.
they mention Crone, right? And that may or may not be the actual Crone, as in Anomander's crow.
Oh, wow. Is Crone shadow aspected? I thought Crone was dark aspected.
Well, was it?
Or chaos,
Which
I guess.
hold was it?
She came from Crippled God, so she'd be chaos. Well, he came from outside of everything, so I don't know.
I wish I had the list up in front of
Or
me
maybe
of
Crone
everything
is
that's
beast hold, right?
maybe. I don't know. What?
Yeah.
I'm trying to find them quickly.
Crone is one of the tiles of the beast hold. Might not be the same thing.
No, I bet you're right. That adds up. Beast hold. I mean, literally an animal, That would make sense.
And then there's also Tracker in the beast hold. And about that one, I'm just reading it from the wiki now. A tracker who sees the signs of the unknown and walks the endless paths of tragedy. And it feels like we should know who that is, but I don't really know.
Tracker.
Isn't that what they say again about Dasim Ultor? About walking
Maybe
tragedy?
that this one is
playing-
him. Yeah.
Tracker with the beast hold?
Yeah, that's true. What we need to...
What about, what's his name from Memories of Ice? the mortal sword.
Oh, talk? Oh.
No,
Oh.
the mortal sword of the Titan.
This guy, Gruntle.
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 Grun-
Yeah, he walks in those paths of tragedy.
Interesting. Yeah.
Could be,
And he
yeah.
meets what's her name? Who is oh no, Stulan's sister? Kilava. He meets Kilava at some point in
Do we know what chapter the
Talk
reading
the
is?
Younger is also some model. Sorry?
What chapter? I'm just like trying to find on the wiki, see if I can find the list of
So
like whatever.
If you just go to a Holt's page, then there's a list of known.
Just go to the Beast Hole on the wiki. It'll give you a list.
Yeah.
I'm really curious about the empty hold. That's the one. I'm like, I want to be able to identify who these people are.
Yeah, let's do that. Wonder Knight. Any guesses?
Is that who you meant?
Talk the Younger?
As
He's
a
also-
Voltor.
Yeah,
Is
he
it-
has to be one
isn't-
of these things, but which one?
Wanderer Knight would
all
make
of
sense.
them.
Yeah.
Okay, we also have Mistress, who waited still alone in her bed of dreams.
That
I don't know.
suggests Queen of Dreams, maybe?
No, because she's life aspected.
Mm.
Definitely can't be Queen of Dreams. Watcher, who witnessed all.
There were those mentions about Serembedak being the mistress. That was.
You're right. Yeah.
Say it again. What?
Seren. There was that section when she overheard the spirits in the rock, and they were like, "Oh, the mistress is listening," or something like that.
We have Betrayer, who's obviously Scabandari Bloodeye. Who would be Savior, whose outstretched hand was never grasped? Any thoughts?
So about Betrayer and Savior, Sida Kurokan says in this book something about like they have coalesced, like they have become one. So basically, they are one person now, both Savior and Betrayer. I wonder if that's Thrall Singer.
Holy shit.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Or
Yeah,
Roa.
he tried to be a savior, wasn't grasped, he became the betrayer.
Roa would also fit.
I thought of that as referring to Scavandari, who was treated like a savior but was actually a betrayer. Like I interpreted as that. You're right. You could absolutely interpret it as like one of the living, like the currently present characters. Troll would fit. Well, what does Troll do in the end? Because he doesn't save them, does he? He's not the one who
He tried
killed.
to save them this whole time, right? He was kind of the only one who was
I guess
against.
that's true. That saving them ended up being an act of betrayal. Similarly, Rulad, though, is betraying his people in the act of saving them.
Yeah.
You could say the same thing about Hanan Mosag.
Not a savior, though. Or would you? Yeah,
Well,
maybe.
He united them. I mean, he started them on the path that led to Rulad. And I think you could make an argument that all of this, like allying with the Crippled God, is what led to them surviving and not being conquered, right? I mean, that's the weird, murky moral area.
Mm-hmm.
The shadows, right, of all of this.
So those descriptions, like Savior's description is whose outstretched hand was never grasped. So I guess who kept offering, I don't know, help or salvation and was never listened to, or yeah, I guess
Troll. Troll was trying to help Rulad.
Troll makes the most sense. Yeah.
He stayed with Rulad to try to help him, and he doesn't grasp the hand. Instead, he gets mocked as a betrayer.
Yep. No, that makes the most sense by far. It's got to be roulette, or not roulette, troll. Walker, who patrolled borders, not even he could see. So there you go. I knew there was some quote that made it even more obvious. Like that's Edgewalker. There's no one else it could be.
Mhm. Master of the Halls, Master of the Tiles, though. Yeah.
Oh, that's weird. That sounds like Erastus, doesn't it? But he has a separate. He's unaligned.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, they also hint that Edgewalker's a lot more than, what we see.
Yes, there is more there. I agree. We'll see what happens in Walk in Shadow. Very distinct name, Walk in Shadow. That's the third book of Carcanus. So no spoilers. We don't know.
Mhm.
But Walk in Shadow, that's a hell of a name.
Yeah.
These are
Also, what was
interesting.
that? What was that quote about the one of the epigraphs? Wasn't it like the betrayer hides in the shadow of the empty throne? That's why it's empty.
Yes.
I have it bookmarked somewhere, but yeah, I didn't quite understand that.
I think it's Scavendari Bloodeye. I think it's like. Or
Oh, so
maybe
that's a
not.
reference to Bloodeye as a betrayer, not the betrayer
Right.
of the empty hall.
I mean, you could turn it around and say it's about Lacine.
That's why it's empty.
Right. I mean, maybe for whatever reason could be blamed for why Kellanved does not sit on the Elder Throne of Shadow. I don't know.
Or if Troll is the betrayer, then like what he's doing now with Onrak to protect the throne, that's keeping it empty.
Right, but temporally that doesn't line up.
Yeah. It's a statement of the present, right? It's not future. Yeah.
Which was what I was going to ask too about the mistress, where it seems like these are roles that can be filled by multiple people. Maybe not at the same time,
Yeah.
but over periods of time, the roles can change. And in fact, we know that's the case with the Warrens, so I don't know why that wouldn't be the case with the Holds. So who do we think was the old mistress? Do we have any idea if Serenpedak is the current mistress?
Yeah, not really. The thing about the empty hall is that you have no idea what or where or why, right? Like if you have the hold of darkness, I'm not sure if that exists, but like at least it's going to be this and these on those positions, right?
Right.
Empty hall, I don't know. It's just a huge mystery.
Apparently, the Dark Hold was observed by Heberick in his big vision in book. That might be the next book. Yeah, it's the next book. He observes that and the Life Hold and the Light Hold. I don't know how all of these overlap with the Warrens. Very unclear, if at all. Okay. I'm opening up the Dragon Hold. I am curious about the Beast Hold, though. Like y'all were saying, what are all the titles we have? The Bone Perch? Oh, that's just the throne. Okay. So that's Tog and Fanderay. The Elder. Still faceless, still blind. Who is blind and faceless? What does that mean?
I thought about the Tlanimas immediately, like kind of blind and faceless because they are like so damaged in their in their life after the ritual.
That, as a metaphor, makes sense to me. Yeah, I see that. Crone measures the cost in the scrawling passage of behemoths. That sounds like Moonspawn. So I could see Crone being just Crone. That just feels like too on the nose to not be Crone. You know what I mean? Like, is there another person whose title is Crone while we have Crone?
And also, I think it was hinted that she was really old, and didn't Kalor address her as like you were there back then? So yeah, that does make sense.
seer who speaks in the indifferent. To the indifferent. I don't know what that means. I mean, I know literally what that means, but I don't know what that means in the context of the series. Shaman, I see shaman seeking truths among the dead. That's great. That just sounds like a generic description of a shaman. And hunter who lives in the moment and thinks nothing of the consequences of slaughter. That could be a lot of different characters. I don't know.
There was Huntress, but Huntress she was a Jagged, right? She would be with the ice hold, I think.
Yeah. She had her own title. I forget what it was, but that came up. Like she was named and then she appeared. Or she wasn't named. Her title was given, a description was given of the person, and then she appeared, and it was like we kind of put two and two together that it was her. Let's see if I can find. Huntress. Never mind. Huntress literally is one of the titles of the Ice Hold.
There you go.
So
that'll
do that. They have Walker. I don't know who there. Oh, that's got to be Icarium, maybe. He's Jack.
That's a good guess. Yeah.
Shaper. That sounds like it could be Gothos. Maybe bearer, child, and seed. Child, you assume maybe
is it the Path Shaper? I lost the page, but I thought
it just says
that
Shaper.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
I think
these
maybe
ones.
I read something about like Cruel being the Path Shaper because of his like Warren's thing.
That does sound like a name for him. He's not jagged though. I mean, is he associated with ice at all?
Probably not.
All right. We also have the dragon hold with queen, which is Tyam. That makes sense. Consort, Corabus, is who they list. That's interesting.
That's
Liege,
what I thought was a little strange, the Corabus thing being the consort, because in this book, this position was addressed as a he, and then Corabus is definitely addressed as a she later on. So I wonder if it's just a kind of like a mistake in the writing.
You get more insight into dragons and how they function and all of that in Carcanus, in Fall of Light specifically. I think it makes sense.
Checks out. Okay.
Pretty sure Carabas, not really a spoiler, is referred to as the consort. I could be misremembering though. But I also think dragons might not be as like I think they can change sex and gender and all of that freely. And they do sometimes, like the Errant does. I forget which of the books where it mentions that. That's not in Book of the Fallen, so I guess that's a minor spoiler.
Cool.
Liege, Draconis. The Liege is lost, dragging chains in a world where to walk is to endure and where to halt is to be devoured. Yeah, okay, so that's definitely Draconis. Knight, obviously Animander Rake. That makes sense. Gate says possibly Clip, so they don't know. Gate rages with wildfire. Wyval is the title. It's just the Wyval. The Lady, Envy. Wait, can Envy turn into a dragon?
Yeah, I think she's Soul Taken.
I don't know how I missed that. That's crazy. The sister, they say, is Spite. The lady and the sister dance around each other, each on her own side of the world. Yeah, I mean, that adds up, actually. So, yeah, gotta be them. Blood Drinkers, Silchus Ruin. Waits as well, waits to be found. Yeah, that makes sense for Silchus Ruin. And Cruel is Path Shaper. So that's what you're saying. Path Shaper knows fever and has felt blood and staggers on the edge of the precipice. Wait.
Different hold.
This is reminding me, why did Silchus Ruin let himself get killed? And did we find that out in Midnight Tides?
Why did he what? Sorry?
He let himself get killed. He knew he was going to be betrayed and he let himself get killed. I distinctly remember that as a plot point. and I don't remember when we find that out.
I don't think I knew he knew. I thought it was a betrayal. Or
I'm like pretty sure about this. I
yeah,
mean,
I'm
so much
missing it.
happens that I could be mixing this up with something else or just like hallucinating. I don't know. Does that sound familiar to either of you two, Shannon, Varsha? That Silchis somehow knew he was going to be betrayed by Scavendari?
I don't remember that.
Okay, maybe I pulled that out of my ass.
I mean, I'm not saying you're crazy, but I'm saying if you hear voices telling you to harm other people, seek help, please.
That's fair. Oh man, the drawing they have on the wiki of him crawling out of the Azat house is freaky. It's beautiful. Oh my god.
Really?
Yeah, anyone listening, if you're listening to the freaking spoiler chat, you should absolutely go to the wiki and just look at the art. It's cool.
Is it on Sulphur's Ruins page?
Yeah. Knew he would be.
I'll have to look that up.
I like Celsius Rune a lot. Talking about him again, I am excited. I love when he gets punked on by the Malazans. It's great. That was one of those anticlimaxes that really worked for me. I mean, doesn't he get like shot with like a bazooka or something? They use some
I honestly don't remember what happens to him. I don't know.
They use some explosives. It's the sappers. The sappers like blow him up, and he flies off severely injured. It's pretty freaking awesome. I'm not gonna lie.
There is a fan art of that actually. That scene, and it's awesome. Have you guys seen it?
Mm-mm.
I need to find that.
Well, what else do we have? Have we missed any? We haven't missed any topics.
Okay, you're not crazy. I just on the Wikipedia they mentioned what you're talking about with Silchus Ruin, knowing, like a half knowing smile about Hounds, chapter 16 when we get to it.
Okay, so it is a later book. Like somehow
No,
he
it's a
knew
later
this was
book. They'll somebody recalls that moment and they feel like he knew it was coming.
but like literally why? Maybe I read it on Reddit. I'm gonna be honest. It's entirely possible I just read that as a theory on Reddit. You know, the fan theories get mixed up with what actually happens. You know, it's true for me with this. It's true with the Song of Ice and Fire. I just can't fathom why he would be okay with that. Like why I was going to ask what you all think, but that doesn't really make sense. Any other thoughts about Midnight Tides? Anyone have lingering thoughts? I think we hit kind of the stuff I want to hit. I'm really excited to read the next Corbelen and Bockelen and Corbel Road.
Kobelen and Bokal.
I am confused. I do want to bring up. So what's up with the Tis? Because the Tist Andy are immortal. The Tist Leosin, I don't know if we know, but maybe we can assume they're immortal. But the Tist,
Are they immortal or just really long lived? Because I think about the Eater, Udinas does say that they live for hundreds of
well, the
thousands
Eater
of
are
years, and
long-lived.
so they lose perspective.
I mean, yeah, the Eater, Rulad makes mention of Udnas being short-lived, so we can assume they're long-lived. But I feel like the Tistandi are actually immortal. Like Animander Rake was alive thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. You know, we don't see any Tistidor from that time walking around.
I agree. I mean, that stood out to me as well.
We have any idea, like why? Like why is it Mother Dark that gave them their powers of
The thing that's messy here is we don't meet a ton of like all the ties to Andi we meet who are important are either purposefully, distinctly very young, like Namander, and Clip for that matter, or they're ancient. And so it's unclear to me if they just die after a certain amount of time, and the ones that are immortal are immortal because they are draconic, like Animander Rake, or even distinctly connected to Mother Dark, like he is, or Corlat, and Orphantal, who have their own bullshit going on. For that matter, they're both dragons, aren't they?
Yeah, you're right. What about Endus Salon? He's not draconic, but he's old, isn't he? Like he's actually like really like he's like an old man when we meet him in Toll the Hound, I think.
Yes.
So like he's aging, but he's not dead yet.
This
So
is not
that would imply they do age.
And he
So
is young in Carcana's trilogy,
And yes,
right?
he was a young guy in Carcass.
Yeah, he's in a Carcanis, so that does imply
But
that
yeah,
they
so he's
maybe-
aging though. So maybe it's the draconic blood that's kind of making it all muddled.
That makes
And
sense.
those guys seem to be truly immortal.
Yeah, no, I mean that makes sense, and we don't see enough of the Tais Leosin to get that, like, to know one way or another. I was curious if Esselmont answered that question, but it seems like based on what you're saying, Shannon, he doesn't.
Remember anything to Leosin in any of his books, but I don't know.
Again, if we can, unfortunately, haven't heard back from Erickson, but if we can get him on, I think this would actually be a good question, because this is one of those lore questions that I feel like doesn't need to be shrouded in mystery. Like, it isn't one of those things where I feel like he has like a good authorial literary reason to be like, I don't know, it's whatever you guys think, you know, like, it's like, well, like, are they or are they not? You know, it's like kind of straightforward. And so I maybe that's something we can ask him if we can eventually get him on again. Because I've wondered that too. The Etter are distinctly, they're long-lived, but they're also not as long-lived as the Andi, it seems like. And the Leosin, for that matter.
No,
But
because there's nobody alive in this book that knew Stavenari Bloodeye.
Right.
Like,
exactly. No, I mean that's a
like
perfect.
he was somebody from their myth. So that would imply there's been generations since then.
You have
In fact, he's become a
an
god.
idea of like the scale of that timeline? Like, is it hundreds of years, is it thousands of years,
Hundreds of thousands.
hundreds of thousands of years?
Yeah.
Okay.
You think
Maybe
it'd have to go back
between
to
like the
For some reason, I have
prologue.
300,000 in my head. I don't know where that came from, but maybe that's vaguely mentioned somewhere.
it has to be before the prologue in Memories of Ice, which is crazy to say, but it has to be for reasons based on Carcanis, for just the basic fact that you got the dinosaurs running around at full power. I mean, Carcanis muddies a lot of the water in terms of the timeline and the lore. Not even going to get into that. Shannon and I think, have talked a little bit about that. But it's, I think the prologue of this book might be the furthest back we've ever gone in the Books of Fallen.
Prologue of Midnight Tides.
Yes. The prologue
Yeah.
of Midnight Nights.
But Carcanas is before that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very, very much so, yes.
Yeah, okay. So, and the fall of the Crippled God happened after the prologue of the Midnight Tides.
I think so. It had to have, right? Because that was related to Calor and the sorcerers and all of that.
He's not,
Oh, yeah.
like, humans have not yet evolved, basically, at that point. Okay.
This is,
All right.
you want to hear something that really fucked me up? This is not a spoiler, but this is just one of the bits of like lore things. And if you guys have read the opening of freaking Carcanis, the first book, the Jek were around, and I thought they were like humans, but I guess they were just around, but humans weren't around. We're introduced to the dog runners, which is
This is
just the
really weird.
like the IMAS.
Yeah.
But the Jek, or I think it's the Jellic, as they're called, which is another, it's the same people split up. What? Excuse me?
And also, like, Jack were supposed to happen after that beast ritual during the First Empire, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's how they have become, according to the main series, that's how they become soul taken.
Right.
But that
Okay.
ritual of the First Empire had to be after Carcanas.
Yeah.
Or is Carcanas and the First Empire kind of like around the same time? I don't think
No,
so.
because in Carcanas, well, I don't want to talk about it because of Barca, but but Carl mentioned the dog runners. That would put it in timeline with the Hounds of Darkness and humans still be like running around serving the Hounds of Darkness. So that's long before the First Empire. Like
Is
that's
that
like
why they're called
Neanderthal
the
man.
dog runners?
I would assume so.
Holy shit. You just blew my mind. That is crazy. Because the
Yeah,
hounds don't appear.
I only realized it
don't
because
know
we had
if that's a
literally just
spoiler that
read, House of Chains, and we saw that with them serving the Hounds of Darkness, and then I was reading Forge of Darkness. I was like, oh, dog runners, because they're running with the dogs. But yeah, so that seems to me like that would imply that we're in prehistoric, almost Neanderthal or Malazan version of Neanderthal.
You freaking blew my mind. That makes so much sense, and I did not put that together at all. Although I didn't put it together for really obvious reasons when you read the series and you're like, where are the hounds?
Yeah, where the hounds? I don't know.
I will say you do get a little bit in Fall of Light. There is one chapter, I'm not going to say what happens, that had my jaw on the floor. It was reading over Christmas. I was with family and I read this bit. It's very subtle. You got to pay attention, but I think you'll notice it for reasons I won't clarify. Oh my God. The crazy implications of it are unreal. Erickson is a madman, not least because he keeps breaking his own lore.
Historian.
Yes. Well, I mean, the thing I'm sympathetic to is like what Miracle was referring to earlier is like when there's like the subjective storytelling aspect of like, oh, this is their history. This is what happened. Like, I'm okay with being like, yeah, sure, that's like, maybe that's not quite right or like it's kind of off, you know? But when it's like, oh, the species evolved a certain way, and then suddenly you go and they're around and there's whole geographical things going on that don't make any sense. It's a problem.
Yeah, well, I guess it could say that maybe, you know, people think that the Czech were created during the beast ritual that went wrong in the time of the First Empire, but in reality, they already have been around then, and it's just one of the explanation that people used after they started noticing them, or you know, whatever. Yeah, who knows?
Are they not an offshoot of humans though? Like that's the thing is I always got the implication that they looked like humans, just hairier and more bestial. And that's the thing that makes like all the other species that are humanoid are described like distinctly, you know, as differently. And then we had someone, I forget at some point was like, yeah, the Czech are like a different species. And I was like, oh, that's cool. That makes sense. And then, but like, then we get the story of them coming out of the First Empire and you're like, so they were human, but, or they at least must look human enough that they must seem like humans. So I don't know. They're a big question mark for me. There are a few giant question marks coming out of Carcanis, and like that's one of the big ones where I'm like, I don't understand how any of this remotely lines up. Maybe there is an explanation.
I mean, I think they've got to be keying into like the same magic or something to be, you know, like maybe that's the connection. Like they're
also I mean, that's a fair point, Shannon. But also on the dog runners, they have soul taken and divers in Carcanis. I thought that's why they were called dog runners, is because some of them were like turned into dogs or wolves or something. Like that's how they're introduced. This is not a spoiler. Like that's like the very first scene with them in like chapter 1. I guess that is technically a spoiler, but it's like chapter 1. Wait, you read that? You read that, Varsha? You said you read the first few chapters. So
Yes.
you've seen the dog runners. They're introduced like right at the beginning of the book.
I don't remember them, so I should probably start over.
I don't
got
remember
3
that
chapters in.
name for them. Or
It's like chapter 2. They're like introduced to the dog runners because they formerly fought the Teist. The Teist fought them and beat them, and they had hostages, and there are things like that.
with the Jagat in the tower, but they are not.
No, with the Teist. The Teist beat them in a war.
I guess I'm talking about the scene, like the specific scene when they get introduced. Do they come to
No, it
visit?
is exactly. It's the tower. It's the tower. That's where we get that information. It's chapter 2. It's where they introduce, the tower. Exactly. That whole story.
The Andy hostage, but
yes,
but I don't think they call them dog runners there. Do they?
they for sure do.
Okay.
They for sure call them dog runners.
Okay.
Or wait, or
And
are
so-
they Jellic? Maybe they're Jellic. Maybe I'm mixing that up now. Oh God.
Like I remember. I don't remember the dog runners.
I could be wrong. Maybe those are the Jellic, and I'm mixing it up.
Are we saying that they are Planimas? No.
Yes, they are. The dog runners are for sure Talani Mass.
Okay.
It not only becomes clear in the way they're described in the series, but that actively also comes up in. The funny thing is, if you can tell Erikson is writing both Witness, the Witness now quadrilogy, and Carcanis at the same time, because suddenly things that were never mentioned in the Book The Fallen are mentioned all the times in between the two series. And this is definitely one of those cases where like the dog runner stuff comes up in Witness, and it's same with the Jek and the Jellic and all that crap. It's interesting.
Suddenly, yeah.
But I thought that the Planimas kind of evolved on the Malazan continent, and now you're saying they came. Okay.
Well,
exactly.
That's one of the problems with Carcanis. And
I'm
sure we will talk about it one day.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're told
How
very
long?
explicitly
Where is this?
Like where the Teist came from, what their story is. While there's a lot you could couch in metaphor, like a lot of stuff around Mother Dark and Father Light, we're given every reason to. I'm not even going to go into it. I'm going to stop.
Also, Erisal, isn't Erisal like the pre-Planimas creature?
Yes, this is one of the major continuity things with Carcanis. That like I actually think it might be like a good thing for someone who's read the whole Book The Fallen to go in knowing that the lore actively seems to contradict what we learn in Book The Fallen, and not in an easy to hand wave way, in a way that like seems to fundamentally destroy how we viewed certain aspects of the world.
That's a mistake on Erikson's side. That's just very disappointing.
There are some things that I could see being a mistake. Like he forgot this. I cannot imagine because it is so significant.
I think it's a mistake.
Like I don't know. I
just finished Sword of Darkness this week, and I don't think it's a mistake. I haven't read the next book yet, but where am I at now? I could see how this could be reconciled, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really curious to talk to you about that because
I
think we have talked about it, Shannon, and that like
a little bit.
I had some.
I wasn't at the end. There's some stuff that happened at the end of that book that kind of add context to it.
I have one theory, but even that doesn't satisfy me exactly, because I still feel like there are giant gaping holes in how that translate with everything that happens in Book The Fallen. I don't know. Erikson is very open and comfortable with the idea that these are all subjectively told stories, and we get the POVs, and so anything that's contradicted or seems untrue, it's just different narrators telling their version of events, and memories change over time.
And also he's pretty open about not remembering a bunch of stuff that he wrote, which is I thought about it as we were going through the like those positions in the holds. I was like, I wonder if like Steve Erickson could shed some light into that, and then immediately I'm like, no, he has no clue who who these characters are.
Yeah, you'd ask him to be like, oh, did I write that? I guess I'd have to look back at it, and I maybe still wouldn't remember. I mean, I love him for like keeping it real and being totally honest. He's like not afraid to just tell you. He's like, yeah, I wrote that like 15, 20 years ago. Like I couldn't tell you, which is, it's fair. And I mean, then the lore itself, right, is based even further on like older games, we're going back decades, like to like the 80s, when this first started being put together. So who knows?
He's also saying that he doesn't reread anything that he wrote, which is kind of a blessing, because then he doesn't have to have these conversations that we are having and like to figure out all these connections.
It honestly, like, it is an envious position to be in as a writer, where you're just like, whatever, like, I'm okay. Like, if there are mistakes, I'll hand wave it away. I really don't care. That's fair. Like, I have a different POV, but I get it. Good book. Midnight Tides. 2 thumbs up. 5 stars.
Good somebody.
Final thought. For all my criticisms, I really did love this book. So.
Good book. Good discussion. So we'll be back next week with the next I got Carl's disease. Bocalane and Corbel
You got my disease?
Corbelane. I said Corbelane. How would you finish that? Corbelane and
No. Okay,
Roach.
pause. Corbelane sounds like one of the fucking names Steven Erickson would write in this. Where it sounds exactly like his other names. And we'd be like, oh yeah, that one guy from Latheris, Corbelane.
It's like
I do not disagree at all.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. It's like, this dude has Corbas, he has Corbel Broach. He has, don't even get me started. I love Erickson. So, I love these books, but the names are out of control.
Bocalane and Corbel Broach. I got that right, didn't I? Even if I didn't, you know what I'm talking about. We're going to be reading The Healthy Dead next week. And then we'll be back with Night of Knives, which we'll probably read over 2 weeks. And then back with Bone Hunters. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you soon.